How do you react when your toddler doesn't share well with friends? Which words do you use? And what's your tone like? And when can you expect your young child to share as you would like to see it? So the big question is this: how do we navigate through the mountain of overwhelming, often contradictory, and sometimes false parenting information we find online? What parenting information should you believe and apply, and what should you reject? That is the big question, and in this podcast, we will help you understand what underlies your child's behavior and explain how to react in a way that favors your child's optimal development. I'm Alexandra Scherzer, and welcome to the Wise Parenting Podcast. Today we take you behind the scenes where you'll listen in on one of my many conversations I've had about sharing with my mom, Dr. Solomon. Sharing is a huge topic that is front of mind for parents for a good handful of years, and I thought that listening in on a real conversation with my mom about sharing may help you, fellow parents, take home some key points about this topic. You'll listen in on my honest questions and my mom's answers. If you have a young child and you find that their non-sharing behavior drives you absolutely bananas at times, then listen in to today's episode for some quick takeaways. And listen back to episode 10, where we took a deep dive into understanding sharing and how young children actually learn to share. So here it is, a conversation about sharing with my mom, Dr. Solomon. So sharing.
Sharing. Why don't they share? Because they don't understand the concept.
So what ages they don't share?
Up to about 4, depending on the child. Some children share earlier, especially if they've come from a family where there are older children. They seem to grasp the concept or grasp something earlier. So they generally share earlier than only children, or children where there are 1 or 2 in the family, or they're too close in age, in which case neither of them will share. And the main reason they don't share is that they don't understand that another person or child can have different wants, desires, or needs from theirs, because they don't have what's called a theory of mind. They don't understand that other people have a mind and other people think differently, and therefore other people might have different needs and wants and therefore want their toy or need their toy. They don't understand any of that.
So when you see kids younger than 4 sharing, is it more a take your turn, not a true share?
It's to take your turn, or something that a way of doing things that they have learned, that they have been taught.
But it's not true sharing in the sense of, I'll share with you because I understand that you also want to play with this, and we can find a way to play together.
Exactly. Usually, as I said, some children's variable. Some children comes earlier, some children comes later. It probably comes later with most. That's why you have so many fights, and that's why you have so many parents saying my child won't share, or trying to force their child to share because they feel if their child doesn't share when he's 2, he's not going to share when he's 30. If they force him to share, they increase their chances he's not going to share when he's 30. Because children begin to associate sharing with bad feelings.
So what should parents do, and at what age?
Well, when they're between the ages of 3 and 5, they begin to understand that other people have thoughts, that people have thoughts in their heads, and that people act as a function of the thoughts in their heads, and therefore they may have different needs, wants, intentions than they. Incidentally, this is the reason for a lot of fighting with parents and a lot of children saying no, is that they don't understand that the parent has a different want or need from theirs. They think the whole world sees things the way they do. And so when a parent says no, or you can't, the child doesn't understand and gets all upset.
Okay. So back to a child under 3.
Under 3, yeah.
they play with other kids, even outside of daycare and nursery school, either with a sibling at home or play dates, then, they're more mobile at this point, so they're taking other toys.
Right.
What do parents say to sort of guide them in the right direction? Can't just rip toys out of other kids' hands.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, the best plan is distraction, okay? If two of them are fighting over a toy bear, the best plan is at this point is to come along and say, oh, look what I have here. Look at this truck. It's red and green, and you can push at this end, and this other truck is green and red, and you could push them at that end, and because distraction works very well with children under 5. And it works
But when both kids are set on a toy,
Yeah.
I can't imagine James giving up. And
but if you come along with something very interesting for James, you will get him.
provided you have something interesting.
Yeah, well, the thing with parenting is that it's not easy, and you have to think ahead, and you have to be waiting for them to get into a big fight over one toy with some kind of interesting distraction. Or it's the moment to say, oh, look, I baked all these great cookies. Who wants a cookie?
Right. And so are you saying that parents with children under 3 shouldn't, 2 things. One thing, talk about sharing?
They can talk about sharing, but, what do you mean by talk about?
Well,
When they
there's
say-
there's varying degrees. Parents will read stories, Peppa Pig, about sharing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's a spectrum.
well,
and
it's
it
an
goes,
interesting story, but they still won't make them develop, as I said, what's called a theory of mind any sooner than it's going to happen developmentally.
Right. So then should parents not even say, well, we're at so-and-so's house and he's sharing his toys with us. Now he'll have a turn when you're finished. Should you not even try that?
Well, you can try that. It may not work. It may work not because the child understands what you're saying, but because the child wants to please you. So if your relationship with your child is good, and there's nothing negative in your words or your tone, you can say it. The danger is when parents saying to children, you're a bad boy, you're not sharing, good boys share, then it gets associated with negative.
So going back to understanding who your child is in wise parenting, the first thing is to understand who your child is,
Right.
how they are born.
Yes. And what stage of development they're at.
And that's
Yeah.
not who they are, but that's I.
Yeah.
So W in wise parenting is understanding who your child is,
Yeah.
how they were born, their temperament.
Yeah.
I is understanding what's going on in your child, in their brain and their development
Exactly.
and the stage that they're at.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I would say that most parents think that children can share under 4, under 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that must be that's a
Well, certainly
misunderstanding.
by 4, most of them can.
A true share.
Yeah, a true understanding that the other child needs or wants the toy, and perhaps you should share it. Doesn't always work. That they know that they understand that the other child wants.
Because then
and
they have
needs.
to want.
They can say, "So what if he wants? I want."
Right.
But at least he understands what the other child's need.
Right.
The other thing about sharing is when they say, no, mine.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very good sign of development. It's a very good sign that the child is developing a sense of self, that he or she is a person in their own right, that they're not just an appendage of their parents. We're not born with the knowledge that we're separate people. Mm-hmm. It comes with time. It grows over the first couple of years. And when the child says, no, mine, this is an excellent sign. So when parents instead of parents having a fit because their child's not sharing, which is not pleasant, they can keep in mind that this is a very good sign of healthy psychological mental development.
And so how should parents react when a child says, mine?
Well, it depends on the situation. You can say, yes, it is yours, but we can't take it, or we can't, it depends on the situation. Why is the child saying mine? Are they trying to take away his bunny to put him to sleep? Or they're trying to take away the bunny because the bunny really doesn't belong to him. He just appropriated it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then with a great deal of gentleness and patience, they have to explain that they're sorry, but the bunny belongs to Jason, and Jason's going home, and your child will have a tantrum, and you have to be patient with the tantrum.
Okay.
And understand that the fact that he wants Jason's toy and has appropriated and says that it's mine is a very, very good sign of healthy mental development. It will help you to be patient and kind when your child is throwing a horrible tantrum at your friend's house and making you look as if you're the world's worst parent and you don't know how to raise your child.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Parents are saying that they are against the principle of sharing. They're not saying the age. It just so happens that their kids, that when I read about it, their kids are about that age.
Yes.
So there's clearly not this general knowledge of when true sharing can happen, which is after 2-3.
Yeah.
Not at 2-3. But it's this principle of, I'm not going to teach them how to share. That's not how they almost have the opposite thing. The real world doesn't work that way. Yeah. If you share, you'll basically lose out if you're always a sharer.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, there is research showing that what's called pro-social behavior, which includes sharing, is inborn in human beings. And their children, depending on the way the children are being raised altogether, of course, but let's just say that they're being pleasantly raised, their children will come to share anyhow. Because pro-social behavior, as we said, is part of our inborn nature, as is our tendency to be aggressive. We are born with both tendencies. Mm-hmm. One to be pro-social and the other to be very aggressive.
So the comment on that parental stance is, it's almost, if parents are against sharing, okay, well, your child
most likely
is going to share anyway.
Your child's going to share anyway,
right?
As I said, as in the context of your good relationship with the child and the whole wise parenting thing, your child's going to share anyhow.
So, and then at the other end of the spectrum, parents don't have to knock themselves out at 2-3 to constantly be demonstrating and guiding how to share because they just don't understand.
Exactly.
Okay. So that was one of the conversations I had with my mom, where I slowly started to grasp the concept of sharing in early childhood. Some quick takeaways from this conversation is that children under about 4 years old simply don't have the cognitive ability to understand that someone else may want or need something different from them. This makes true sharing quite impossible until about 3 to 4 years old. But helping young children to learn how to take turns and using creative distraction can definitely help you get through shared playtime and play dates with fewer tears and tantrums. Also, keep in mind that sharing is inborn. Our young children are primed to observe and learn how to share in their family and in society. So parents should focus on not reprimanding or scolding their very young children. Associating sharing with negative feelings will actually work against the inborn want to share. Rest assured that with a lot of patience and empathy, the inborn desire to share will come out. Parenting isn't easy, but I hope that hearing more about the key concepts about sharing will help you understand why and how to handle difficult sharing moments in these early years. We hope that you found today's podcast helpful. Come say hi on social. Our Facebook and Instagram accounts are at Dr. Solomon's Wisdom, all one word. You can subscribe to the Wise Parenting Podcast on any podcast app, including Spotify, the Apple and Google podcast apps, or wherever you listen. Parenting advice keeps changing on us, depending on what you read and who you listen to. This is making parents feel like they're doing a bad job. And worst of all, many parents today don't know who to trust for what is probably the most important job they'll ever have. So if you're the parent of a young child and you would like to feel clearer, more confident, and more at ease about your parenting decisions, then the Wise Parenting Academy can help you get there. With on-demand access to foundation lectures and seminars in digital, print, and audio, as well as exclusive one-on-one guidance from Dr. Solomon, the Wise Parenting Academy is the perfect next step to building the best long-term outcomes for your child. Come check us out at thewiseparentingacademy.com. Thank you for listening, and we hope you will join us again.